Off the bar, I'm too persistent. Whipping comment, no cast. Get it on my own, no collab. But a bar with me, that's a body bag. Yo, people, from what we're telling them, it's your boy manlykenjies back in with another reaction. Man, I've got top 10 sports scandals by watchmojo.com. Now, these men have 24 mil right now, blood. So I don't know if me reacting this is gonna make them, I don't know, strike down my whole channel, and that if the video will get blocked, copyrighted. If it gets copyrighted, calm. But blocked from all that, I don't know, fam. But we're gonna try react to this anyway, fam. You know what I mean? But we got the top 10 sports scandals, man. Let's get into it. First time I'm watching this channel as well, blood. You know what I mean?
This is all about the insider action outside the game.
Well, taping another team's signals or practice, or that's against the rules. Why would they do that? That also seems small.
Welcome to watchmojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 sports scandals.
Sports Illustrated says it's uncovered Almonte's real birth certificate. It shows Almonte was born on April 7th, 1987.
For this list, we're focusing on scandals in the sports world that contain elements of planning, concealing, or even conspiracy.
There was only one club in the league could fit him in the salary cap. It was the Melbourne Storm.
And we're excluding random acts or behaviors that reflect poorly on only one individual.
Why?
Number 10, NFL concussions.
Tells the whole story when you hear the sound of it on this punt return.
For years, it was a badge of honor for ex-NFL players to boast about the violent nature of their sport. But the narrative took a dark turn once retired athletes began experiencing symptoms of CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
The football world has been rocked this week by the sad death of a former star.
In 2011, Dave Duerson took his own life and requested that his brain be studied for trauma. And just 1 year later, Junior Seau also committed suicide and was confirmed to be suffering from CTE after a post-mortem examination. The NFL continues to adopt new regulations along with the NHL and their enforcer issue. But off-the-field problems, including domestic violence, as evidenced by the Ray Rice case, continue to fuel the fire.
Junior Seau died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Some speculated that he did so to preserve his brain. A brain, it turns out, that was damaged by the game he loved.
Number 9, Deflategate.
However, there is an elephant in the room.
Where?
Regardless of whether you're pro Tom Brady or a steadfast hater, Deflategate undoubtedly caused a storm of selective outrage in 2015.
After this came out, there were a bunch of quarterbacks who said, yeah, we all did this. Yes, it was against the rules, but this is something we all did.
It all began during the AFC Championship game when officials discovered that official game balls had been deflated, thus allowing Brady to get the upper hand.
And this did not come out of thin air, pardon the pun. This did not come out of the NFL's own theory about the balls. It came from the Colts. It came from perhaps other teams.
2 weeks later, the New England Patriots won another Super Bowl. And shortly after, the Wells report concluded it was, quote, probable that Brady was complicit.
I don't have really any reaction, Jim. Our owner commented on it yesterday.
Deflategate came over 7 years after another New England Patriots controversy known as Spygate, which means that somebody has some explaining to do, whomever that may be.
Is the Super Bowl tainted? Should there be an asterisk?
What do you guys think?
Number 8, Jerry Sandusky and Penn State.
These allegations are false.
I had to find that
I
clip,
didn't
fam.
do those things.
After
I didn't do those things.
61 years with Penn State, you could say that Joe Paterno had a bit of clout on campus.
We drove 2 hours to get here just for this, just to say goodbye.
But amid a disturbing sexual abuse scandal involving former assistant coach Jerry Sandusky, Paterno's legacy was forever tarnished, and he passed away just 2 months after being fired. If you know the details, then you already know just how heartbreaking this story is for all involved.
Aaron Fisher was the first to accuse Sandusky of being a monster.
In fact, when Sandusky was convicted, the judge intentionally avoided an abstract sentence to reinforce the idea that 30 to 60 years in jail had, quote, the unmistakable impact of saying, clearly, for the rest of your life.
A community pillar who founded a charity to work with at-risk kids, a position prosecutors now say Sandusky used as a hunting ground for vulnerable victims.
Number 7, the Melbourne Storm salary cap breach.
They're jumping for
How sadistic that is, fam, blood. Man created a whole foundation, blood, to whether he had the intention of all of this from the beginning or whether it developed in this, you know what I'm saying, while he was creating it. Like, either way, fam, either way, blood, that is sadistic as hell, fam. That's crazy.
Victims. Number 7, the Melbourne Storm salary cap breach.
They're jumping for joy, Melbourne.
We had,
and the maddest thing is, yeah, with situations like that, it's that you can't even funnel out who's weird and who's not, blood, because you know what I mean, but you just think, oh, someone's got money trying to do some good, bruv. Then you find out all of that, fam. You know what I mean? Then you can't just, so you can't really filter all the weirdos out, blood. You know what I mean, blood? Because like they're just in like just normality, fam. You get me, blood?
The Melbourne Storm.
It's not like a questionnaire you can have or like something that they have to fill out, blood. Or you know what I mean, blood? And also when you have money as well, you can just avoid certain things, because you know, like when you become a teacher or whatever and you have to take certain like evaluations, or you might have to go through certain tests, blood, so you're not a danger to kids. Even then, even some people that have even taken those kind of tests, they still can and will do certain things, you know what I mean, blood? So it's not even 100% like guaranteed that they won't, even if they do pass these tests or exams or evaluations, blah 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 blah. Even if you do have money, you can just throw certain things aside. That's your money. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, fam. You know what I mean, blood? And not go through the same loopholes that a regular person would have to.
Salary cap breached.
They're jumping for joy, Melbourne.
We had some rats in our ranks. Those were the words of Melbourne Storm owner John Hartigan after his team was involved in the biggest scandal in Australian sports history.
Over the last few weeks, it's come to light that the Storm has engaged in a long-term system of operating what might conveniently be called two sets of books.
The rugby squad had won premierships both in 2007 and in 2009. And let's just say that a few perks were offered beyond the usual contract negotiations.
This club is a great club. It's a strong club. It's a very proud club.
Some players were given under-the-table benefits that doubled their official contracts, and others received 30 large for home and entertainment expenses.
The secret files outlining the under-the-table deals were kept in a separate room at the Storm's headquarters, well away from the players' legitimate contracts.
In the end, Melbourne continued to win, but only after the largest sanctions in league history and a stripping of their titles.
The penalty will be the stripping of 3 minor premierships and 2 premierships, the return of $1.1 million in prize money, a fine of $500,000.
Number 6, Tim Donaghy and the 2007 NBA betting scandal.
His father had been a respected ref in college basketball. Tim followed in his footsteps and went even further, making it to the NBA. But Tim said betting was more powerful than all of that.
We all know somebody who thinks the NBA is rigged. And after former basketball referee Tim Donaghy was convicted of fixing games, the conspiracy theorists snickered with laughter.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because if you're a ref, you can influence the game however you want, fam. You know what I mean? That is crazy, blood. But you're playing with people's lives at that point, fam. You're playing with people's lives, but you don't know what people have on the line and are putting out on that court, what they've been through in that, fam. And not just out here just fixing games like it's just regular, blood. Because people always say, you're an NBA player, fam. What problem is it, bruv? Come on now, man. Come on now, man. Only dumbass people say those kind of things, fam. You know what I'm saying, blood? But, bruh.
Did betting on the NBA give you a higher high than betting on other sports?
I think it gave me a higher high because I was able to
influence
predict the outcome of the games.
From 2005 to 2007, Donaghy bet thousands of dollars on games he personally officiated, and later received kickbacks from low-level mafia figures. Oh yeah, he also worked the infamous 2004 Indiana-Detroit game that resulted in one of the darkest moments in league history, also known as the Malice in the Palace.
Oh, because of one little man.
Donaghy was one sketchy ref, and after serving 11 months in prison, he naturally wrote a book about his experiences.
Professional foul.
Making winning picks is what excites you.
Number 5, Lance Armstrong doping allegations.
There is a time gap, but the man in yellow is running at him with that usual determination.
He was the golden boy of cycling, at least until he began throwing everyone under his wheels.
Is there any stopping Lance Armstrong in this Tour de France? And the answer answer is no, there is not.
In one of the most astonishing cases of egocentric behavior the sports world has ever seen, Lance Armstrong furiously denied using performance-enhancing drugs after winning the Tour de France from 1999 to 2005. After winning the Tour de France from 1999 to 2005.
99, 2000, 2004, yo, 7 Okay, I've never seen anyone dominate for that actually now. Man United actually, fam, you know what I'm saying? Greatest club in the world, fam. Greatest club the world has ever seen in that, fam. You know what I'm saying? We were on top for a very long time, but that's ridiculous. But individual sports though, I mean, Usain Bolt, but like, what was the time span, fam? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't really know about Michael Phelps. I only know he got bare medals in one thing, but is he still winning? Has he been winning like 24/7 and everything? You know what I mean? Like, that's mad.
There's 280 pages of medical records, constant interactions with doctors and nurses and specialists, never once mentioned.
It was hard to root against Armstrong, a survivor of testicular cancer and founder of the Livestrong Foundation. But the growing amount of evidence became too much to ignore.
I told her to go wherever she wants, her meaning me, and I'll answer the questions directly, honestly, and candidly.
Armstrong ultimately confessed to Oprah, and even that seemed like yet another performance.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
Number 4, the 2002 Winter Olympic bid scandal.
There are allegations the city won the Winter Games for the year 2002 by bribing some members of the International Olympic Committee.
Every 4 years, the Winter Olympics showcase the greatest athletes in the world. And it's also a time for corrupt benefactors to admire their illegal purchases.
Unseemly things had happened, but we never had the facts. No one had the courage to say, well, here's the ledger, here's what happened. And now we do.
In 1995, Salt Lake City was selected to host the 2002 Games. And 3 years later, the Salt Lake
City, I think Man United played against them in pre-season a few years ago, blood. You know what I'm saying? I remember that. Blood. Shout out to them, but I was watching that game.
Salt Lake City was selected to host the 2002 Games. And 3 years later, the Salt Lake City Organizing Committee was suspiciously protective of their financial documents.
I was like, oh my days, they say out here doing corrupt-ish to get a little more peas and that. Oh my days, blood.
When pressed by reporters.
As an athlete, you're training your whole life for that one moment at the Olympics.
But America's Winter Olympics were mired in scandal and deficits.
It was almost like they didn't want people to know that numerous members of the International Olympic Committee were given political contributions, tuition money, and millions upon millions of dollars.
Accusations that Salt Lake City had bribed some IOC members with cash, gifts, possibly even the services of prostitutes, so it could get the 2002 Games.
You broke our heart, Utah, just like that French judge who sabotaged the 2002 Paris figure skating competition.
How did that happen? They won that program. There's not a doubt in anyone in the place except for maybe a few judges.
Number 3, the Black Sox scandal.
Shoeless Joe Jackson, one of baseball's all-time greats.
Any true baseball fan knows the name Shoeless Joe Jackson.
But the Black Sox scandal...
Why is it called Shoeless? Is that his like name or that surname name, like family name or whatever, or did you just wear no shoes or something?
Ends his career.
He was the centerpiece of the
Had the graphics in that, fam.
1919 Black Sox scandal, where players were accused of throwing the World Series and banned from baseball for life.
Okay, throwing is mad. Throwing is mad. Throwing is mad, man. Throwing a game is mad, bruv. That's like, bruv. As a team, that's probably like the worst thing you could do, blood. Like, is it worse than cheating though? Like, you cheat to win. You know what I'm saying? You do mad stuff you cheat to win, the whole team knows about it, or just throwing a game, blood. No, I think throwing the game is worse, blood. I think throwing the game's worse. Throwing the game's worse, blood. Like, you're intentionally going out there to lose, fam. That's crazy to me, fam. Because think about it, blood. When you're cheating, at least you're trying to win the game, blood. You know what I'm saying, blood? You're trying to do it underhandedly. And I'm not condoning cheating, but at least you're trying to win. But just going out there to throw the game, blood. As a team, as a conglomerate, as a collective, blood. With all the fans and all of that, blood. Like, come on now, man, blood. You letting bare people down at that point, bro.
Of course, Shoeless Joe was also a central figure in the 1989 film Field of Dreams.
Getting thrown out of baseball was like having part of me amputated.
What most people don't realize, unfortunately, is that he most likely wasn't involved in the scandal at all. and the available evidence supports such a conclusion. Even so, the fact remains that America's favorite pastime was undoubtedly fixed, and a classic phrase was born. Say it ain't so, Joe.
Shoeless Joe Jackson died in 1951, and 63 years later is still banned from baseball.
Number 2, the MLB steroid scandal.
There it is.
This is brazy, blood. This is brazy, fam. People just fighting over one baseball, fam. Obviously now there's more rules that are in that are in place to basically protect people from this ish happening, blood. But people just fighting or like this. I'm guaranteed there's someone in that crowd that does not want to be a part of that. He's just getting absolutely mowed down. Fam. That, bro. I swear someone just jumped over someone, bro. Right here, this. My man, right there, blood.
For nearly 40 years, an unassuming man named Roger Maris held the Major League Baseball single-season home run record. But in the mid-90s, a new trend emerged: juicing.
Some thought the ball itself was juiced, and that's why more and more people were coming to the ballpark, but home run numbers were just skyrocketing.
However, most fans didn't fully realize the extent of the steroid problem.
They really were like cartoon figures, like Supermen with these bulging biceps, and they just sucked us in.
Mark McGwire hit 70 homers in '98, and 3 years later, Barry Bonds set the existing, quote, record with 73.
There's a high drive, deep into right center field, to the big part of the ballpark, number 71!
It was indeed an exciting time. But when the Mitchell Report was released in 2007, the game was tarnished forever.
Steroids don't really help you that much physically, and what they give you can take away somewhere else, and I don't want that.
Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are a few honorable, or in this case, dishonorable mentions.
No signals, nothing. These 3 are definitely happening. Okay? They've all been organised. Okay.
Oh, you man are known for that issue, blood. Like, that's your man's sport, fam. Like, the biggest, like, you know what I'm saying? When you think of cricket, blood, you normally think of Asian people, blood. You know what I'm saying, blood? Asian athletes and that, blood, just dominating, bruv. You man are in scandals and that, blood. And that's the thing, blood. Because when you're, like, the best at something and something like this comes out, then people are going to question, like, is he really, though? He could be a part of, you know what I'm saying, blood? Even the next generations to come and that, blood, it's always lingering there, fam. You're just tarnishing things, man, for the rest of it, blood. So I'm saying with these scandals and things, you just ruin it for so many people, man.
The first ball of the third over.
And there's 1000% been hella scandals that have gone under the radar. No one's found out about them, blood, you know what I mean?
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior.
Dass die Pokalpartie des HSV Teil des unglaublichen Wettskandals ist. Zu spät Pokal.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior.
Dass die Pokalpartie des HSV Teil des unglaublichen Wettskandals ist. Zu spät für den HSV.
To go out there and to have in your mind, you know, you want to take somebody's career out. I mean, you got to look at it as, you know, people are trying to feed their family.
However, the Spanish have a secret advantage.
Controversy with the Spanish team at 2000.
10 out of the 12 of them are perfectly normal, putting it on in the hope of...
Yeah, I remember that, blood. I remember that because Paralympics, I don't think it's just physical, like illnesses or whatever. What's the word, blood? Like, you don't have to be missing a limb or whatever, blood, to, like, you know what I mean, take part in the Paralympics, fam. I don't think, fam. I don't know what construct of what type of illness you have to be at and what's allowed and what's not and that, fam. But it definitely doesn't have to be physical. It can be something internal, blood. I don't know if, like, mental illness or, like, you know what I'm saying, or if you have, like, I don't know, ADHD or something, or, you know what I'm saying, I don't know if that all counts and that. I don't really know the ins and outs. But you definitely don't have to be physically hurt or whatever. You know what I'm saying, to take part in the thing. What the hell's going on, bro? Why is that thing just popping up? Relax. Let me like the video, fam. I'm enjoying this, but I can't lie to you.
Winning gold.
Number 1, the 2015 FIFA corruption case.
We are here to announce the unsealing of charges and the arrest of individuals as part of our long-running investigation into bribery and corruption in the world of organized soccer.
All hell broke loose in May of 2015 when U.S. Attorney General...
bro, I was gonna, like, I think I've reacted to a video where I just did football scandals and that, blood. I think I've reacted to a video, yeah, on my think it's on my music channel. I think it is, but still. But I just didn't want to do just football again, fam. You know what I mean? So I just said sports scandals, but it's obvious that football's all the way up at the top, blood. You know what I mean? Biggest sport in the world, blood. You know what I mean?
All hell
Most
broke loose in
peas
May
and
of 2015 when U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch unveiled an intricate bribing scheme involving FIFA executives and corrupt officials.
They did this over and over.
In fact, FIFA VP Jack Warner even tried to defend himself by citing a satirical news article by The Onion.
If the FIFA is so bad, why is it the USA wants to keep the FIFA World Cup?
As we've seen with the 2002 Winter Olympics, any event can be bought. And while this scandal may not come as a big surprise to skeptics, the grand scale of the entire cover-up is simply astounding. Winter Olympics, any event can be
Where was this, blood? Is this a random?
Bought. And while this scandal may not come as a big surprise to skeptics, the grand scale of the entire cover-up is simply astounding. We are truly living in a world of magnificent bastards.
His criminal activity financed an opulent lifestyle that included a luxury apartment in New York's Trump Tower for the use of his cats.
Wow!
Do you agree with our list?
I did. I was like, okay, well, yeah, I could see how they would have won.
What do you think is the most memorable sports scandal?
In my mind, there wasn't inappropriate behavior.
For more mind-blowing top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
And we will look forward to following you here online.
That is it, but shout out Watch Mojo. Hopefully these videos don't get blocked because I'm trying to watch some other videos from them as well. Top 10, top 20 actors in the last decade and top 20 movies in the last decade. So hopefully this does not get blocked, fam. You know what I mean? It's where my land jazz and I'm out here though. In a bit, people, man. The bar, I'm too persistent. Whip in comment, no cast. Get it on my own, no collab. But if a bar with me, that's